we are delighted to welcome every delegate to our country.
From the countries of Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Costa Rica, Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Kiribati, Madagascar, Nepal, St. Lucia, Tanzania, Vanuatu, and Vietnam.
We may be vulnerable, but we are not incapable of action. We should stop acting like victims. We should be more proactive and actually tell the world that we are capable of action.
This Sherpa's senior officials meeting of the forum offers the prospect of making a new contribution to shaping critical climate change policy decisions, as well as articulating shared interests.
Maldives took the initiative to formally create the forum in 2009 in the attempt to ensure a more prominent voice for the most vulnerable countries just ahead of the major Copenhagen Climate Summit in COP15. At the Kiribati conference, the AMBO Declaration was adopted that aimed to create convergence between the CVF agenda and the priorities of other key groups of countries.
Costa Rica has put the human being as the center of this climate change problem we have facing now.
Bangladesh remains very committed that as a group we can strengthen our voice and we can work collectively and very strongly to secure our agenda in the Paris negotiation.
So this is not a question of developed nations opposing developing nations. We have understood that if we want to be efficient in our fight against climate change, we must fight together.
Germany has committed substantial funding to the Green Climate Fund and additionally through Germany's International Climate Initiative.
By providing a venue of knowledge exchange and learning among countries vulnerable to climate change. The Philippines hosted the CVF Regional Workshop in Asia to identify the most important risks, solutions, and needs of vulnerable countries in the region in the context of the new post-2015 international climate change regime.
We commend the CVF countries, now chaired by the Philippines, for coming together to send an unequivocal message to the rest of the world, to take the necessary collective action in effecting urgent climate action.
Government cannot and should not have to face the climate crisis on its own. The magnitude of the crisis confronting all of us compels civil society to rise above the narrow definition of non-state actors, to rise above the ultra-narrow label of protesters. Never has the need to speak out become more important than today.
That a global leadership meeting in Paris that adopts a 2-degree goal will knowingly be writing off many people, and many of those people are from the countries represented here, and saying to them, we cannot protect you because it's too difficult for us to make the emission cuts that are necessary to protect you, the most vulnerable people on planet Earth. And that's a bad decision for the world leaders to be making.
Our collective task is to lend a consultative review of the declaration.
We also think you should re-articulate CVF priorities. You guys could amplify the voices of many of the most vulnerable countries in the negotiations.
The meeting discussed comments to improve the current draft, expanding on the 2030 agenda reference and highlight also the climate change SDG, including support from developed countries for renewable energy and energy efficiency.
The V20 was born out of those ideas, those elements, in moving forward, in putting forward or identifying strategies to respond from a finance perspective.
There will be 2 simultaneous group discussions. Group 1, Troika and Expert Advisors Group, who will do a review of the draft text. Group 2, they will try to develop recommendations to the draft declaration.
Another one, the meeting highlighted the role of UNFCCC focal points in coordinating CVF activities and the need of additional CVF focal points during discussions on cooperation and action channels.
One recommendation is that the CVF must be very conscious about its influence as a singular voice, and that it convene a smaller group of vulnerable countries that are ready to approach other heads of state to raise particular issues.
I would like to welcome all of you to the ceremonial high-level session of the Senior Officials Meeting of the Climate Vulnerable Forum.
The highest level of UNDP is committed to this agenda, to supporting your efforts on the way to Paris, but also beyond Paris.
What do we want in Paris? We want an ambitious, universal, legally binding, dynamic, and durable international agreement at COP21.
When millions of people are already being jeopardized because of climate change impacts, doing nothing about climate change is a crime.
We have a tremendous example to the world that we are willing to work in a more coordinated way.
Climate change is a man-made phenomenon. It is not God-given, it is man-made, and that's why we all, internationally, we have to cooperate together.
Our house is still burning. We now all feel the urgency to stop the fire. I would like to join you all in hoping and working for a successful COP21.